Welcome back to Simply Fujica, a place for budding and aspiring entrepreneurs. My name is Fujica and I serve this community as a business mentor, and ultimately I help people open their non-medical home care agencies. I want to thank you for continuing to support the channel. I don't think I really gave a good healthy shout out to this community for reaching over 10,000 subscribers. Now we are close to, I think the last time I looked we were a little bit over 12,000 subscribers. So I just want to thank you so much for supporting the channel and for supporting me, because I really do try to work hard to make sure you all receive content that you find valuable. So in today's video, we are talking about how do you convert the phone calls, the inquiries that you're receiving into actual clients. This is so super important. You all know the importance of, after you put so much money, so much effort into finally getting someone on the phone, you want to put forth your best effort in order to make sure you're converting that person to an actual client. So if that's something that you're interested in, and it really should be, then stay tuned. So I have put together 6 tips for you, but before we dive into the tips, I want to talk to you about setting yourself up for success. So the first thing you want to do by that is make sure that you understand your position in the call. This is your agency and you want to get this person onto your client. So you want to make sure that you are able to lead the conversation. Now, leading the conversation doesn't mean you're the one always talking. However, it does mean if a person is coming across as unsure, if a person is coming across as, I don't know, I'm just trying to ask questions, then really you take charge in that moment to understand what that uncertainty is about, right? So I hear uncertainty in your voice. What's going on there? Okay, you don't sound too sure. Is there anything I can do? Or is there any question that I can answer to help you make a decision, right? So these are leading questions that you can ask to help a person feel more comfortable in discussing things with you. But it also means understanding where silence can do the heavy lifting. Sometimes silence just means the person is thinking. In that case, you can just kind of slide in and take your time. Take your time. I'm here. Right? So making sure that you are in tune, you are 100% present. The second item that I have for you is making sure you're prepared. At the time of me filming this video, I feel like I did something along these lines. It could have been managing clients, client management. By the time I publish this video, I will have that video for you. One of the things I talked to you about is having conversation scripts. So if a person says they're not interested, or if a person says no and they don't give you anything else, or if a person says, hi, my name is Fujica, I want to find out more about your agency, what do you say next? So I really like making sure that I have scripts in front of me to help with the conversation. Now you want to be careful here because you don't want to sound like you're reading from a paper. I know I can tell when I talk to someone and they're reading from something. It starts to sound a little disingenuous because it sounds a little bit robotic, right? And so remember, you're coming across as a trusted home care agency. You are coming across as someone that this person they're either trusting you with their care or they're getting ready to trust your agency with their family members' care. So in that case, you're really approaching this conversation as building that relationship that will serve you and your client as you start working together. So it is very important to make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're in a room where people aren't coming in and out of the room, shutting the door, people aren't calling you, there isn't a lot of background noise. You really want to set the tone for a positive interaction. The third item that I want to discuss with you before we dive into the tips is be interested, be kind. Again, this person, you don't know what has happened that has led them up to making the phone call. And I know that I have done a video before on if we want to start looking into getting care for mom or dad. That's a sensitive conversation, right? So you can imagine you may be speaking to a family member that is just exhausted, that is frustrated, that is tired. So you want to make sure that your tone in your voice is welcoming, assuring, understanding. So these are details that may seem small to you, but are big for the person on the receiving end. Okay, so those were just a couple of tips to get us started. You really want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. So with that, let's transition into the tips. The first tip that I have for you is set up some type of applicant tracking system. I'm going to share with you a program that I like, which is Trello. Trello, I love the fact that you can manage several tasks at the same time and have multiple parts of a board on the same project. And you'll see why that's important in a moment. But the importance of that, why I like this, is because at a glance, you want to see where are all of your applicants. Are you on the phone call stage? Are you setting them up for a visit? Are you waiting for paperwork? Is paperwork pending? Is the deposit pending? So this is going to help you manage your day as a home care agency owner. You can take one look at that and prioritize what you'll be doing with your day. Are you going to be doing follow-up calls? Are you going to be doing home visits? Are you going to be calling and inquiring about these deposits? Do you have your clients set up on an automatic email system? See, these are things that you can do when you have a good client relationship management tool. So let's transition over to my desktop and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, welcome to my desktop. You should be seeing a screen that has Trello at the top left. As you can see, this is my workspace, and as you can also see, this is a free version of Trello that I'm using. But if you look at this, this is in general your workspace, if you will. And so you can create new boards. They have templates if you would like to use them. That way you could just build on top of what they already have. Or if you're a person like me, you like to create your own. So I used to use this heavily when I was in the process of creating courses. So as you can see, I went into the, in my workspace, there was a course tablet. I just selected that, and that opened up these cards. They're called cards, and you can add several. You just enter a title for your card, and then you hit enter and you'll have several cards. So I want to kind of share the layout with you, if you will, and then you can imagine this as it relates to creating something like this for your clients or potential clients. So anytime that I did a YouTube video or a course, I would have brainstorm card, and that card was really just me throwing out ideas, really trying to capture everything that I'm just kind of thinking of. And then as I kind of agreed with myself that I was going to pursue something, then I would create a to-do list. So as you can see, there's some courses. These titles that you see here are actually videos and shorts that I have. So this was kind of creating those to-do lists. I kind of made little notes for myself so that I can create those videos. Okay, then this third card that I created was just doing. So moving anything that started, like so for me, in my mind, after you kind of process through the to-do list, this is me processing wherever I'm at in that video or course. So it would be creating outlines. You know, so how many videos do I have in outline where I'm actually crafting what that video or course is going to look like? And then, of course, once I completed something, then I put done, right? Like I have recorded it and everything. The last thing that I need to do is edit. So how many of these videos are now in edit? And what I like about this is you can have one card, you can have 3 cards. So let's translate this to clients. If you have any clients that you are just calling or you just have received a phone call from, maybe this is your initial contact card, right? And then as you talk to them, if there are people that you need to call back, so these are your callbacks, you can create a card and label it callbacks, and then these are the clients that you have to call back. And like I said, any individual one that you open is going to have details in terms of that particular callback. Okay, maybe the third one is now visits. You scheduling your visits. You saying, hey, on this particular day I have 2, 3, 4, right? Visits. Here could be deposits pending, right? So this is how you can kind of start managing yourself. Something that I want to point out is the labels. So see how initially when we came here, you can see that this was done, right? Where that label comes from here that I created. So I wanted to see the items that are done and what's in progress. So as you can see, when I'm looking across my actual course board, I can see how many items are complete and then how many are actually in progress. So as you can see, you can kind of take a look at a glance to see where you stand with regards to your clients, right? Or whatever your board is that you create. Last two things I'm going to cover with you today is if you go into that same card, you can see that there are actually dates here. So if you create a date that you want to complete a certain item or task, you can then set a due date or reminder. And so once those things are becoming due or become past due, you will be able to recognize that on your board. Okay. The last item that I want to talk about is if you have members on your team, maybe you're going to share a task or assign a task to somebody. You can share this with, whoever you choose. Right? Whoever you choose to share this particular task with. All right? All of the pictures and items that you see here, the flower that's behind this, it's all customizable. So I hope this has helped you, and we'll return now to the video. Okay, so welcome back. We're going to jump right into tip 2. The second tip I have for you is making sure you have adequate contact information. I cannot remember who does this, but hopefully you've had the experience when you call into a company and the first thing that person says to you is, in the event we're disconnected, how can I call you back, right? But it doesn't stop there. What is the person's name that you're speaking to? Are they the client? If they're not, what's the relationship to the client, right? What's the phone number? Is there an email address that you can have on file? And you're letting them know as you're talking, because you don't want to just start hammering someone with 20 questions. That would turn anybody off. But you want to let them know, if you can give me 1 second, I would love to build your client profile. So you're constantly talking that person through the transaction. We're constantly letting the caller know what step of the process that they're in, so that it's more of an interactive exchange versus you just asking 1,000 questions. It does make a difference, and it will increase the chance of the person staying on the phone with you, but also answering all of your questions. The third tip I have for you today, I kind of already started talking about at the top of the conversation, which is develop scripting. Now, I will say this, you really have to have an honest conversation with yourself, because you know yourself best. Like when I think of myself, I don't have to have so much of a script in front of me, because I don't want to be reading things word for word. And for those of you who have ever had a conversation with me, you know I could talk to you all day long, right? But then there are also people like my son who is more of an introvert, who is going to say the bare minimum just to get through the conversation. So you're really going to have to do an assessment of how you are and how comfortable you feel having these conversations on the phone. If you're a person who gets easily tripped up on words, I wouldn't write everything out. Write enough so that you can take a glance and keep the conversation going. Because you want to make sure you don't sound disingenuous. You want to make sure that you don't sound like you're on autopilot, sounding a little robotic, right? Because you want the conversation to be as smooth as possible. The second suggestion that I have here is create enough to think of 2 or 3 scenarios and make sure you have a script for each one. So let's say a person calls you and they tell you they only have a couple of minutes to discuss this with you, right? What are the meat and potatoes that you want to make sure that you discuss in those 2 minutes? You want to make sure that you cover those points necessary to make yourself stand out. So maybe it's you understanding, well, how quickly are you looking for services? How do you think you'll be paying those services? That's wonderful. Here are the services that we provide. It sounds like we would be a good fit, right? So whatever you feel is the meat and potatoes of your pitch, you want to make sure you utilize that in those 2 to 3 minutes. What if you're calling someone, right? So you're making the phone call and the person shuts you down. Maybe you've talked to them, this is the second or third time around. So do you mind, Mrs. Polino, if you explain to me why you're opposed to this phone call right now? Because I know we talked a few months ago and you said I could follow up with you. Has your situation changed? Right? So this is why it's so important to make sure that you collect a lot of information. So when you're calling a person back, even if it's a month or two down the road, you're not a stranger. That person can call to memory based on what you said. Oh, I did say to call me back in a couple of months. You know what? My mom is fine. She's recovered. We're no longer needing the care. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that mom recovered. Please keep us in mind if your mom or anyone else is looking for home care. There you go. That's it, right? So you just want to make sure that whatever the situation is, you have a couple of examples to yourself and you have it written out so that you can be equipped to have those power conversations. Because this conversation has already gone on a little bit longer than I would have thought it would, I'm going to go ahead and break this up into two because I still have a few more tips and I want to make sure that I spend enough time and keep your attention for all tips. So I am going to sign off for now. Before I end today's video, do not forget my one and only class that I'm doing this year is starting the first week of June. I do have the link in the description for you to sign up on the waiting list because I have not started enrollment yet. And for those of you who don't really want to join a classroom setting, you just need licensing guidance, I will have that link for that service in the description as well. Lastly, if you enjoyed today's content, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so that you're notified anytime I drop a new video. That's all I have for you all today. Stay blessed.